Welcome to episode 4 of the World of Screens podcast. On today's show, we have reviews for F1 and M3GAN 2.0, and we're going to be covering the latest, as always, in the Australian box office. I'm Nicola Barry, the film editor and founder of World of Screens, joined, as always, by Peter Gray of the AU Review, Rotten Tomatoes certified critic, and all-round movie man extraordinaire who has seen 89 of the New York Times Top 100.
89, yes. Yeah, just missed the 90, but I was happy with 89. It was more than I thought.
Certified
Um
cinephile status is what we call
and
that.
it was one of those things where I'm like, this is an interesting list.
It's a
Like
very interesting list.
I I agree with a lot of the films there, but some
Mm.
of them I was very surprised to see in there because I was like, oh, like quickly, I was like, I was not expecting Superbad to be on the list.
Yeah, right.
Superbad is a fantastic movie,
Yeah.
but when people think of the 100 greatest films of the 21st century, I don't think people immediately go to Superbad. Same with Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids fucking incredible. One of the
Yeah.
greatest comedies. And I'm very happy that it's being recognized as such.
With
But
comedies, Anchorman in there as well.
that's it. I was like, comedy seems to be one of those things that I know doesn't get the respect it
Mm.
deserves.
Agreed. Agreed.
Not enough horror in there.
Very much so agree.
Which we shouldn't be surprised because horror and prestige don't seem to go together, except for when people go to the movies and seem to turn every single horror movie into a success.
Well, technically Get Out was on there, I guess. So
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
and you know what? If this list was compiled a little bit in the future, guaranteed Sinners would have been on there.
Sinners would have absolutely been on there.
Yeah, yeah,
110%. So
yeah,
I'd seen 82 of the
yeah.
films. So and I was pretty happy with that. But I had some pretty big blind spots.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive shocked me. What also shocked me, I had just assumed you'd seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I
That's
was
one I've
like,
kept hidden for a while. I don't talk about
how?
that I haven't seen it.
No, that I mean, yeah, because you will have people being like, oh, like how could
They
you not see
have
that
they
movie?
have pitchforks and fire sticks outside my front door
Um,
right now.
but I'm actually super excited for you to like experience that movie because
Yes.
it's yeah, but also I haven't seen that movie in 21 years because
Right.
I saw it in the cinemas
Fuck. I can see
um
these movies in cinemas.
but haven't seen it since, and not because it's not good, it's just one of those ones that I haven't revisited because I also want you need to, I mean, that is one that you
Well,
kind of feel like you give yourself a
you got to
little
be
bit
in a
of time.
mood for. I'm
Yeah,
definitely aware. And Mulholland Drive sits up there in 4K somewhere. Like I
very
have
nice.
the film, so
Yeah.
which will pop up as you stated in the comments on an episode of 0 to 100. We will look for a place to
Yeah.
chat all things Mulholland Drive.
Because
So
I'm pretty sure it's in the
surely it's in
80s,
the 80s or
the
90s,
80s or
right? Yeah.
90s. Yeah.
It's in the goddamn top 100 films of the century so far.
Um, and that's another one I'm excited to revisit that one because again, haven't
Mm.
seen it since 2001.
Oh wow.
When I
Fuck.
went to
Okay.
when I went to a cinema that no longer exists in Brisbane,
Mm.
but I went there and it was just full of like everyone being like, "We're in for a weird fucking time." And I walked out of that movie going, "Huh, I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to sit on that one." And I was 17, so I also
Sure.
was like, maybe my movie brain wasn't fully formed.
The
Um,
movie frontal lobe, as they call
but
it. Yeah, yeah.
so that'll be interesting to revisit to then figure out if I know what's going on or if I have a brand new idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I got like an idea of what I think that movie's about.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. But no,
A
it
David
was,
a
but
David Lynch film for those who are unaware too. So you're
and
expecting the weirdness.
yeah, and the movie that put Naomi Watts fully on the map. She was, see, here we hear it all the time. Actors ready to just give up Hollywood. Acting isn't for me. And then they
Amen.
have that one audition, that one role, and turns them into a bona fide superstar.
And I'm sure
And
there's plenty of movies on that list too. Like I obviously can't name all 100 off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's
no,
plenty of movies of that list. Like if you think about Get Out with Daniel Kaluuya and
mm,
things like that, a lot of star making performances in a lot of those films. So
Yeah.
I agree for the most part that the list was pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
Oh, it was a great list.
Very good
It was
list.
just there were, I think there were, and I'm saying like shocked me in like a good way, in
Sure.
like, oh, people have recognized, like when people say, oh, what's your favorite movie? And you might like say you mention Anchorman, and people
Yeah.
might go
Yeah.
Anchorman. You'd be like, Anchorman's fucking
We
hilarious.
watched it over the weekend. It's very fucking
It's
funny.
very funny, and I'm really, really grateful that people recognized comedy the way that comedy should be
Yes.
recognized.
Well, and if they're gonna pick the three, they picked like not even arguably, I would say almost objectively the best three comedies of the last 25 years
Oh,
in Bridesmaids, Superbad, and Anchorman.
and Anchorman, and I'm pretty there were other, I'm sure there were other
They
ones
probably were, yeah.
peppered throughout, but those ones stood out as like, oh, these are like big
Bangers.
budget blockbuster comedies.
Yeah.
Um,
That are
and
still
they
talked about today.
yeah, and is Judd Apatow involved in all
All
three
three
of
of
them?
those. Yep.
Yeah,
The king of
yeah.
comedy. The
There
king
you
of
go.
the king of 21st century comedy,
Yeah.
arguably. But before we get into the rest of the show, a few little housekeeping things. If you could subscribe on your preferred podcasting platform of choice, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, I don't care where you listen. We thank you for it. But subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there as well. It helps us out a lot. Head to worldofscreens.com for all our reviews and rewind reviews and awards article posts and podcast posts, all of that. And follow us at World of Screens on Instagram. All your support is incredibly helpful. Let's do our first review. It is a blockbuster week here
hmm
at World of Screens, and we're going to chat F1. A Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. This film is directed by Joseph Kosinski of Top Gun Maverick fame. Not just Top Gun Maverick fame, though. I got to call out Only the Brave because that
Yes.
movie is incredible.
Yeah.
And if you haven't
Yeah,
seen it, go see
I
it.
watched that not too long ago and I was like, oh, I'm crying on the couch.
That movie
Full
is devastating.
and like Nick and I would, I mean, if you haven't seen it, and you know what? I feel like a lot of you haven't because that movie kind of went and did nothing at the box
No one
office,
talks about it that much.
shockingly, despite the fact that that cast is bonza.
Mm.
Um, there's the scene toward, we'll say towards the end of the film.
The Miles Teller scene,
There
yeah.
is this just heartbreaking,
Rips your
heartbreaking,
heart out.
yeah,
And when we say based on a true story, then you automatically assume not good things are going to happen.
no,
But
um,
truly, like visually incredible film. That's Joseph Kosinski with
yeah.
a screenplay written by Aaron Kruger. Kosinski and Kruger developed the story together. So this film was made in collaboration with the FIA, which is the Formula One's governing
Mm.
body, and it features many real life F1 drivers. So we got Lewis Hamilton, who was a producer on the film. Max Verstappen pops in there as well. But the stars of the film are Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Kerry Condon, Tobias Menzies, and Javier Bardem. This pretty much was touted to be like the original summer blockbuster for 2025.
Mm.
Everything else is really like IP driven, not a bad thing. Not saying that like in a sarcastic way, but this is like a genuine original big budget blockbuster film. And you got the guy who made Top Gun Maverick, which did $1.4 billion at the box
Mm.
office. You're going to give him the blank check, Apple Films and WB, Warner Brothers, team up and go, here's $200 million, make an F1 movie. Uh, you get Brad Pitt. You need that movie star quality. You got a great supporting cast. What did you think of F1, Peter Gray?
Yeah, so just like quickly talking about all that sort of stuff. Like
Mm.
I saw the one of the dumbest tweets I think I've read on that Hellscape app. Um,
Twitter being full of dumb opinions? What?
where someone said, "How can F1 be an original film? It's based on Formula One," and everyone just
Oh,
went, "Oh my God!" Like, yes, okay,
right.
it's based on a real thing,
That's like
but
saying
that,
the
that's like
longest
saying
yard is
it's
based
based on
on yeah,
NFL.
yeah.
Like people really had to go, "Oh, you poor unfortunate soul." That they're like original movie meaning original like yeah,
Original concept, original
it was
story, original
very difficult
characters,
to sort
yeah.
of get through to be like, yes, okay, it's set in a world of a real thing, but
Yes.
the F1 movie is not based on
No.
a comic book or a
A
TV show or a
pre-existing
pre-existing
intellectual
IP.
property that of
Please,
fiction. Yeah,
please understand what it means when people say original movie. I just had to get that out of the way because I
I
saw that
appreciate you. Yeah,
today.
doing that.
I
Yeah,
saw that today and was just like, oh, good, we're still surrounded
it's good
by.
to see the internet
Yeah,
is still full of dumb opinions
yeah,
and hasn't
yeah.
changed at all.
Yeah.
Better the devil you know.
No, but I mean, I feel like we've heard about F1 for a very long time.
Long time.
And the whole thing was like it's Joseph Kosinski coming off of Top Gun Maverick, so there's already kind of that built-in excitement. He swapped out one movie star for another.
Hmm.
Arguably Brad Pitt sort of up there with sort of the last of the great
Yeah.
big movie stars, like same with Tom
Like
Cruise.
definitely one of those actors where almost his name's more important than the title of the film or the
Yeah,
concept of the film. Like most people would be like, "Oh, I'm going to see the Brad Pitt F1 movie." They're not going, "I'm going to see the F1 movie."
yeah. And then obviously there was a lot of I guess a lot of chatter about the fact that this movie cost a lot of money. And
Yes.
Apple getting into the movie game, to them, it never really has seemed like it's been like for the love of movies. Like,
Sure.
yes, they've had Argyle, they've had Fly Me to the Moon, they've
Hmm.
had Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Argyle was kind of a massive misfire.
Sure.
Fly Me to the Moon, unfortunately, kind of underperformed, but is a great film. I think
Still a
people
great
need
movie.
to,
Yeah.
and it had really like that old school charm with Channing Tatum, Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
Kills of the Flower Moon, like, did well considering it's a 3 hour plus Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese
Yeah.
drama that is bleak as fuck.
But like, also,
Um,
again, you're that Leonardo DiCaprio
yeah.
pull as well that helps out. Yeah.
But F1 kind of felt like kind of felt like a proper, okay, we're gonna go with the big boys of
Yep.
Blockbuster, Summer,
Hmm.
all the other studios.
We're
And
gonna make a cinematic release. Like, it
yeah.
seems fully very intentional that this was to be made for theaters. Yeah.
And then like it's kind of one of those things where if this movie doesn't do well, it's weird. It's not going to be considered a flop because Apple have trillions of dollars.
They're doing all right. Yeah.
They've teamed up with Warner Brothers to like distribute the film.
Yep.
Warner Brothers get a percentage of the box office.
Hmm.
So Warner Brothers haven't really haven't
They
funded
haven't
this in
lost
any
out for
way.
this. No, they're
So
doing
this
all
is
right.
like a win. This is a win for them, regardless of how much money this movie made. But then this went movie. We'll talk about it later
Sure.
in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But well, this movie went out and made decent money.
Lots of money. Yeah.
Um, but it was very much, touted as a dad movie, quote unquote. Like everyone was
I
like
did
the
say
way
that in
that
my
the way
reviews.
that Top Gun Maverick was. But the thing is, though, Top Gun Maverick sort of had the same thing where it was like it's a dad movie, take your dad. But then Top Gun Maverick had like this kind of four quadrant
This universal
entertainment
appeal,
value.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, and I do feel the same way for F1.
I
It's
agree.
not it's not as much as Top Gun Maverick, and I think comparing the two damages F1 because
Agreed.
but also nothing's gonna top Top Gun Maverick. Like that movie was just
Truly incredible.
that was truly magic. But F1 has a lot of comedy.
Hmm.
It's got a lot of drama. It's
Hmm.
got a romance
Romance.
story. It's
Yep.
got immersive, like the sequences of the driving itself, like
Hmm.
you feel like you're in it because they actually were
In the
in the
cars.
F1.
In the yeah, in the
They were driving.
they were on the Grand Prix tour. They filmed at 9 different countries. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Obviously, it's very long,
Yes. Yeah.
and it probably doesn't need to be as long as it is. But at the same time, they talk about that there's these nine races that are
Hmm.
like very integral,
Yeah. It's like the F1 season. It's the whole
and
F1
it's
season is these nine
yeah.
huge races that
And I sort of
have to win.
feel like if they didn't show the nine races, that would have come back on them as well. So I understand showing the nine
Well, it's
races.
because they're making a movie for F1 fans and non-F1 fans. You're
Yeah,
trying to please two very separate
different.
groups of people
Yeah.
with the same product, and that can be challenging for
And
sure.
I think that's why pretty much every racing scene comes with a pop song because it
Yes.
like the soundtrack to this is like doing really well because it's like
It's
and
wild,
they've
though.
gone and they've what I like is that they've gone okay, F1 is kind of an old like quote unquote old man sport, you know?
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
Like
Your
yeah, like yes,
dad, your dad sits there
dads
for
love to sit
five
down.
hours
Yeah.
on a weekend and watch cars go around in a circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more
So
to it, but that's kind of the thing.
So how can we make that seem exciting?
Hmm.
Okay, we'll get Ed Sheeran, Doja Cat, Tate McRae,
Yeah.
Madison Beer, Burna Boy, Dom Dollar. Like we'll get all of these big people that
I know
the
one of
ki
those names.
that the kids are all listening to, and apparently this fucking gay 40-year-old who knows them. But we'll put those artists in it, or
Yeah.
I guess their music in it, link the scenes up with the song, so that
Hmm.
way there's visually people are like, oh my God, these scenes are so exciting. And then you've got a kid who may have been dragged along or a young 20 something, and they'll be like, oh my God, this song is a banger.
Tate
So,
McRae, I'm a fan. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so it really is going for we'll entertain every single audience
Mm.
possible. And then, and then if there are female audiences being like, well, if it's all just F1, like what is there for me? You'll be like, well, Brad Pitt looks great.
Yep.
Damson Idris is a bloody charismatic fella.
Hmm.
Javier Bardem's looking bloody stunning. Kerry Condon has like just great female energy.
Hmm.
And I was like, so she's the kind of character that female audiences can then go, oh my God, it's like she's a woman in a male-dominated field. She's like
Yep.
really holding her own. This is great.
Totally.
And then we'll be like, well, we can't not have some romance, even though it kind of goes against what she says as a character, but regardless, we're not going to have Kerry Condon and Brad Pitt and not put them together.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so it really is going for we'll have everything possible. But at the center of it all, we're also going to make amazing cinema,
Mm.
and those car sequences are insane.
On a technical
Um,
level, the cinematography, like the immersiveness of the flight scenes in Top Gun Maverick were incredible.
yeah.
What they do, and once again, Joseph Kosinski developed new camera technology for it.
Mm,
What they do in these cars is incredible. The camera is moving around in the car,
yeah.
doing these 180 shots from like a point of view of what the driver's seeing, and then in that same shot, the camera flips around and you see Brad Pitt. Like
Yeah.
it's not CGI, it's not a stunt driver. You see Brad Pitt or you see Damson Idris, and it's truly incredible. There's a shot early on in the film of the first F1 warm-up race we're seeing, and
Mm,
it's this huge, like classic establishing helicopter shot that's flying in, and the camera comes right up next to a car, and you see Damson Idris in the
yeah.
car. It is wild. Like this movie on a technical level, and the sound design,
Oh,
holy shit. It
and but
is
also
so good. It's
and
loud. It's a
then
loud movie.
yeah, and then we talk about that and they go and but also the way that he utilizes silence is
Well, in that
incredible.
one scene in
There
particular,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's yeah,
There's a crash scene,
there's a
yeah.
crash scene, but also towards the end when it's like Brad Pitt's kind of
Yes.
victory moment and it's purely just
Mm.
him and it's kind of just like they get rid of all the noise, like all the music and anything, and
He's
they
in this
just
like
keep
flow state as a driver. Like it's
and they
really
kind
well
of
put together.
yeah, and they kind of feel like this is maybe what he's actually hearing at this point.
Mm.
It was
It's
really
really
well
well
done.
done.
And I on a collector's level, I would love Apple to
Yeah.
continue with their Warner Brothers um collaboration and release this on
Mhm.
because this in 4K
Yeah, it'll look
would look
incredible.
incredible. And also, this is also the kind of movie where, much like Top Gun Maverick, the behind the scenes stuff on this would be
Oh, actually,
next level.
I literally listened to an interview with Joseph Kosinski this weekend where he said that there is going to be a home release and there will be behind the scenes footage on it.
Good.
There we go.
Because,
Warner
yeah,
Brothers have done this before because obviously they're in partnership with Amazon and they bring out the Amazon or the MGM films out
yeah,
on physical release as well. So hopefully that's a good sign.
yeah. Because, like, Fly Me to the Moon doesn't seem like it's
No,
gonna come out,
Killers of the Flower Moon either.
despite it being
Uh,
released by
Sony.
Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flowers of the Killer Moon seems to not be something physical. Argyle neither, but I mean that's not a tragedy. Um,
F1 needs it.
F1
It'd be, yeah.
needs it. But yeah, like we are seeing, like like the Accountant 2 is
Yep.
thankfully that's getting
Finally.
that's getting a physical release,
Yep.
even though it's streaming for like a couple months on Prime before that. But yeah, I think and I think that's just us as physical collectors sort of wanting that because this movie looks incredible on the big
Mm.
screen, and I feel like on a television screen on 4K with all of the things behind the scenes that went into this movie would be really, really great to see.
Mm.
One thing that we won't get to see is Simone Ashley,
Yeah,
who,
I didn't. I heard about this, but I don't know too much about it.
yeah, it's like, we'll
They
never really know what
what happened? Yeah.
was going to happen, but like from what I understand, she had a substantial role. She was a female driver.
Oh, okay.
There was a whole narrative around her,
Right.
um, and it was kind of a big deal because Simone Ashley, woman of color,
Hmm.
getting a massive role in this.
Yep.
And Joseph Kaczynski has said like some things just we had to cut out. It had nothing against Simone's performance. She's
Mm.
been helping promote the film.
Oh,
But she's literally in the film for 1 second. Like
right.
she walks past the camera and gives like a little moment and that's it. And it's kind of like, oof,
Right.
okay. If you didn't know like any of that, it would just seem like oh, it's like a girl that they're focusing on for a second.
Hmm.
So watching F1, it would have been really interesting to know where the hell
So
all
this
that
is
was going to go.
interesting because, like I said, I don't know much about the situation, but this movie's already 2 hours and 40 minutes, and
Yeah,
it didn't need to be. This
no.
could have easily been a 2 hour movie.
Yeah, I
Um,
like I think a lot of the driving scenes like they could have done like a you could have condensed a lot of
there's
that
the
and done
ability for
like
montage, especially in the middle. Yeah,
that's it. A montage and you literally just put the names of the countries and
100%.
because there's
Because
only
also
like there's only a couple races that really
really
actually
matter.
really matter.
And
Yeah.
the even though we're talking about how amazing this is technically as well, each race is the same. There is a
Yes.
lot
Yeah.
of no singular race except for the ones that do the crashes stand out more than the others, except for those ones that sort of bookend the film. So
Yeah.
you kind of go like, okay, as awesome as it is, and as incredible and immersive as it is, I don't need to see it for 15 minutes straight,
Yeah.
9 times throughout the film.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help, like, it's not that it doesn't help, but the film itself is very melodramatic and it's very
Oh,
surface level
and
and it's easy. This is a popcorn movie. I
it's
did
a
not walk away
yeah.
emotionally changed by
No,
F1.
it's formulaic to the core. Like,
Oh, it
like
would.
we're like we know, like
You know the
exactly.
ending walking into the film.
Yes,
You know exactly what's going to happen, and that's not a bad thing because if you execute the formula, it's fun.
that's the thing.
But
If
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 it's
if
2 hours and
yeah,
40 minutes of what you already know, by the last sort of 40 minutes before the last race, I was like, I'm kind of done with the movie. Like, if it wrapped up soon, I'd be pretty damn happy. Lucky the
yeah,
last sort of 30 minutes is really great, but
yeah,
it's just, yeah. So then with this Simone Ashley stuff, I don't know
yeah,
how that works. I don't know where
yeah.
that,
I was
yeah,
like, clearly it meant the movie was much longer, but also,
imagine. Far
but
out.
also like it's weird to say like, but like credit to them for cutting out a. This sounds really bad. I'm like credit to them for cutting her out, but I'm like,
I know what
it
you
has
mean.
to be said. Credit to them for cutting out where it's like okay, there's nothing. There's like no characters introduced that then
Mm.
aren't
No
given.
resolution or
And
anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's wild that she had a
Mm.
whole story arc and we
Yep.
don't see it, which is, it's unfortunate because it's like this movie, could have done with a little bit more of a feminine injection, but even though
Yep.
Kerry
Totally.
Condon's very much, holding the fort with that, and we have,
Yep.
we have Damson Idris's mother and we have that sort of stuff, but like this is very much a movie that just doesn't really, you
Yeah.
know, but yeah,
I know
it's
what you mean.
wild to think that
There was a
she was in,
whole nother
that there was a
storyline.
whole
Yeah.
story that never had anything that trickled into anything else that we're seeing. Like
That is
it's
crazy, isn't it?
crazy.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe on disc we get to see
Like
like,
the Ridley Scott Napoleon cut of
well, you know what?
F1 where
Maybe
it's like
they'll do
4
the
hours
like, yeah,
long.
this is the 3.5 hour cut or something. And I would honestly,
I'd watch it at
if
home.
they put her back into it and we saw what that whole thing was, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
This
yeah,
movie
it's
just
just what
didn't need
it's
to be longer than it already was. That's
no,
that's my biggest
that's
flaw,
the
and
thing.
it's a
Yeah,
massive. It was a huge thorn in my side for the film because I was like, this could have been great, but it's just got a few too many things to stop it from being that. It is still super entertaining. It
oh,
is still super
absolutely.
fun. It is
Yeah,
super easy to watch. It needs to be watched in a cinema. Like
yeah,
there is nothing more than I recommend for this film. It's just I again, you said like comparing it to Top Gun Mavericks almost like unfair to F1.
yeah.
It's just not as good, like in a
No,
lot of ways. So, but that's still okay. We can still have
that
big
yeah.
movies.
So I think yeah, I think if a lot of people might go, oh, it's going to be Top Gun Maverick, but in
Mm.
cars. Yes, like yes on a surface
Yes,
level, but no on how much everything is executed to perfection.
totally.
But
Yeah.
F1, like we are not like F1 is absolutely a movie to go see in the cinemas.
Mhm.
It's one of those movies you can take pretty much your whole
Yeah,
family
pretty
to.
much. Yeah.
Like you like
There's
there was
nothing
a
too crazy in the film. Yeah.
in the screening that I was at, there was a boy who was probably 7 years old sitting
Probably,
with his
probably
dad,
the perfect age, to be honest, for this film.
because there's I don't think there's any heavy language in
I think they
it.
say fuck once.
Maybe
And it
yeah,
was
but
funny, I
like
think, because I remember laughing. But like,
but
there's no,
there's
even though there's
like
romance, there's
and
no sex scenes, there's no,
the crash isn't
graphic or
violent
anything.
like
Yeah, it's
graphic
not
like
Michael Mann's
it's
Ferrari.
yeah like it's violent thematically because you're like
Yeah,
holy shit, but
yeah.
there's no like burning bodies and all
It's
that.
an exciting, it's just an exciting blockbuster film, and
Yeah,
I think definitely see it in the cinemas if you
yeah,
can. And it definitely is like a movie star movie. Brad Pitt is just oozing movie star energy
yeah.
throughout. But Damson Idris also gets his run.
That's it.
Javier Bardem gets
Yeah.
his run. Kerry Condon gets her run. Like
Oh,
everyone performance.
she is great, and I'm like.
Very funny. She's got
Can
great
we
comedic timing.
like after an Academy Award nomination,
Yeah.
I'm like,
We need more Kerry Condon.
we need more Kerry Condon and not in Night House, Night Swim.
Night Swim.
And she needs to be more than just the love
Night Swim.
interest in this
Agreed.
movie. But
We need more
she's great.
banshees of Inisherin and stuff.
But to her credit, she takes what could have been a very surface level
Mm,
character and she really makes it into something because
agreed.
that's who like she's just an incredible actress. So yeah.
Agreed. Definite recommends from myself and Pete. And if you want to hear
Yeah.
more thoughts on it, you can go to worldofscreens.com or theaureview.com and see our reviews of that. But let's speed into the box office. So this is the box office from not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before, because we're running a little bit late on the scheduling with these episodes peek behind the curtain. We had a busy week last week of junkets and everything. So we got
Oh
to this one a little
my.
late. So
Oh my Lord. Yes, we
this
did.
is this is the box office from 2 weekends ago, the release week of Elio and 28
Mm,
Years Later. And coming
mm,
in at number 5 in the Australian box office, provided by Numero Box Office, is Elio at $760,000. Not a
mm.
terrible, terrible performance, but kind of bad for Disney Pixar. Like
Yeah.
we've seen how well Lilo and Stitch has done as a
Mm.
Disney film. For Elio to come in at $760,000 and number 5, not great.
Yeah. But as we said, like it's got family competition
Big
in
time.
two
And
of the
only
other
more
films.
coming.
Yeah, in two of the other films that I assume are in the top five.
Yeah, well, you would assume correctly with number 4, which is Lilo and Stitch,
Yeah.
still raking in $1.1 million. It's
That's a
been
big gap
big,
between
big
five
gap.
and four as well.
Beginning of school holidays here in Australia, so obviously people
Yeah.
are still clawing out to see it. But this is, yeah, if I don't think it has already, but I'm sure it's well on its way to the billion mark. I'm
I think they've said that Lilo and Stitch will be the one to
projected to
cross
it.
it. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, Minecraft.
and a sequel announced this week as well, Lilo and
Yeah.
Stitch 2, not
Which
being remade from the source material of the straight to DVD animated film Lilo and Stitch.
which like
Sorry, growing up, A Stitch in Time, I believe.
it really does amuse me that like it feels like Hollywood has like never entirely learned their lessons. Like, yes, okay, Lilo and
Sure.
Stitch did well, but like we don't need another one.
No, no.
Like
Let's get you the movies that you already have in
like
development. Okay, and then go
has
from there.
Mufasa not really taught you anything? Like,
Still haven't seen it.
I mean,
Still haven't seen it. Coming in at number 3 is The Materialists, or just Materialists, sorry, 1.4 million. So
wow.
obviously the I guess the word of mouth got out there that people were like, okay, maybe it's not a rom-com, but they're
It's
kind of
still a
seeing it for
great
what it
movie.
is. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, a great movie.
I have been so frustrated with seeing like a lot of podcasts just going, so Materialist was the worst movie ever. And I'm just like,
Yuck.
oh my God.
Not this podcast.
So Materialist was the worst movie ever because it wasn't a romantic comedy.
Shut up.
You're allowed to be disappointed and
Yeah, for sure.
underwhelmed.
But be
But
be
I'm
upset
just
at your
like,
own
but I'm
expectations as
like,
well.
oh my God, please see more movies. If Materialist is the worst movie you've ever seen, like,
Agreed.
are you kidding? No. Like,
Agreed.
just no. Like that's the reactions to stuff that still piss me off.
Oh,
I'm
fuck
almost
yeah.
expecting if Superman is
Oh, yeah.
like more fantastical or more earnest or whatever it is going to be. I'm expecting Superman was the worst comic book movie ever. I'm like, it's not. Like, we just need to not like. I mean, we are lucky that we most of the time we go into films
Mm.
very early. Like, we
Yep.
see them kind of before a lot of
Yes.
reactions come out.
Definitely.
But also, we were like, it's a Celine Song movie.
Well,
Like,
yeah, that's it. We
that
knew,
should.
right? We knew going into it what it was, what we were
But
getting
like,
ourselves into.
if you see the trailer for Materialist and you see from Celine Song, director of Past Lives, I don't know, you could probably go, oh, let's see what Past
Let's
Lives
see
is
what,
like.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't know. But I'm very, very happy that it's at number three. It's over a million. It means people saying it's the worst thing ever aren't being listened to because people are still going. Um,
so yeah,
but yeah, it's that reaction is frustrating me because it's just you admitting that like you wanted it to be something that it's not, and it being something that it's not doesn't make it
a
bad.
bad movie. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, $1.4 million would disagree with whatever dumb
Yeah.
podcast that was. Number two, 28 inches. Sorry, I mean, 28 years later, debuting at 2.5, almost $2.6 million for a MA/R in America rated horror
Mm,
film. $2.5 million is incredible.
that's
It
really
has
good.
performed so well overseas as well, worldwide. We will be getting, I know Danny Boyle, this whole press tour is like, we still haven't got the third film finance. We still haven't got the third.
That's
This third film's coming. We're good. We're getting
but
our
it
third one.
is also it's so risky
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to be like,
Like
hey,
hedge your bets on that, right?
and
Yeah.
like, hey, can you guys show up because we've got a second
Literally.
one done.
Literally.
We still need that, and you're just like, oh, don't like, oh, it's very risky.
Very scary.
But again, amazing result. Horror
Mm.
once again proving it's just like box office gold. Um, Disappointed in the fact that I learnt it was a prosthetic. It's not
Mm.
real, but he did.
Disappointed for us, not disappointed for the fact that the children on set were safe.
Well,
Let's
I
say
mean,
that
that's
because
what it
that is
was. They were
why.
just like, we're working with children. I'm not allowed to have my dong out. But
And we're
someone,
thankful.
someone interviewed, what's his name?
The guy, yeah. So the guy who plays Samson, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Chi Chop something.
yeah.
And they were like, okay, it's prosthetic, but then very brazenly they were just like, oh, but like if it wasn't a prosthetic, and he was just like, well, I'm 6'8", so you can, and we're like, okay, cool.
Uh,
So you're probably
it's either Chai or Chi Lewis Parry.
Chi Lewis
Chi
Parry.
Lewis
That's it.
Parry, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was just like, that's a very bold question for a journalist to ask. Basically, be
yeah.
like,
Well,
how big is your dick?
yeah.
Um, but yes, it was kind of nice to be like, oh, Danny Boyle had a respectful set
This
because there's
there's
children
something
literally like face to face with it.
there's
So
something interesting about a journalist asking someone how big their dick is when imagine if you turn around and went to like Sydney, so he's like, how big are your breasts? You know
yeah,
what I mean? That's kind of fucked up.
you'd be absolutely done.
Yeah. I
But
don't
you know
like
what?
that.
But you know what? I've seen it firsthand from a
Hmm.
female
Yeah.
journalist in the industry where she made a very public swooning comment over an actor, and in a way
Mm.
that was like how attractive he was, and like, oh, I'm faint. And I'm like, if a dude walked out of a press room and did that about a woman,
Yeah.
he would probably be much more vilified for it.
Agreed.
So there is still, we're still seeing a little bit of a. It's funny how we're now turning around being like a little bit of a double standard. Like we're allowed to be objectified and women aren't, and
Yeah.
it's like. but how is that okay when if it was the other way? So, you know what? Men have feelings too out there. So,
Well, that is true. That is very true. And it's those just that handful of people who are still making it a shit place for everyone else.
yeah.
What's not a shit place is the box office position of How to Train Your Dragon at
Yeah.
number one. In its second, third week at the box office, $4.9 million. This is
Shit.
a behemoth
Yeah.
of a film. This will, if this beats Lilo and Stitch to a billion, I wouldn't be surprised. That's
I
kind of
mean,
crazy.
so I was like, I don't know how much it is worldwide at the moment, but
I'm gonna have a look right
I have
now.
I have seen the conversations where some people are like How to Train Your Dragon might be the one to get to a billion first, and you're like, Lilo and Stitch had a massive leg up on it. So if How to Train Your Dragon gets there first, that's wild.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Lilo and Stitch currently 945 million.
Okay.
How to Train Your Dragon's only 450.
Oh.
I thought it had done
Also,
bigger than that, but
not a
great.
not a
Yeah,
bad thing. It's almost at $500 million, so it's
yeah,
okay. But no,
interesting.
but yeah, I've seen a lot of chatter of like How to Train Your Dragon will get there, and I'm like, well, we should probably say Lilo and Stitch will get there first.
Yes,
Um, but at the same time, is Lilo and Stitch gonna peter out the way that Minecraft did? Because
potentially, yeah.
Minecraft was right there. Like
Mine,
Minecraft got to
Minecraft
900.
is 950.
Yeah, like so.
Currently the highest grossing English language film because that's that Nizar 2, the Chinese
Oh, of
film, is
course, yeah.
$1.9 billion
Um,
worldwide.
Wild that in 2025, that Lilo and Stitch and Minecraft movie are like the ones that got to almost a
Almost a
billion.
billion dollars.
And
So
yet, like, and you've got like Captain America and Thunderbolts just like
they're
nowhere
both
near
in the
it.
top 10, but I don't think for much longer. I think they
But
will both get
it's
booted out.
wild how the times have changed that
How the times
that
have
that
changed.
Marvel is not a Marvel anymore, really.
Fantastic Four will be the most interesting, the most
Yeah,
watched box office reporting or box office thing this year,
yeah, I
without
think
a
so.
doubt. And Superman
Yeah,
will be as well.
and Superman as well. And you know what? A little bit of Jurassic Park, I think.
Very, yeah, and we'll definitely be talking about that next episode,
Yeah.
and what we think with that. But that is the box office numbers for Australia, thanks to Numero. Let's crack into the final review of the show, and that is M3GAN 2.0 or Megan 2.0 for those who
Oh, I guess I'll say a real name. Oh.
this boring people are. 2 years after Megan's rampage, her creator Gemma resorts to resurrecting her infamous creation in order to take down Amelia, a military grade weapon who was built by a defense contractor who stole Megan's underlying tech. This is a sci-fi action film written and directed by Gerard Johnstone, who directed the first film from a story by Johnstone and Akilah Cooper. The film stars Alison Williams, Violet McGraw, Ivana Sacno, and Jermaine Clement. Clement, Clemente, uh, with Amy Donald physically portraying Megan while Jenna Davis voices the character. This is a Blumhouse and Atomic Monster co-production, James Wan and Jason Blum. You are a M3GAN fan of the first film.
Yes.
You're a big fan of
Yes.
this film. I
I am.
liked it. I did like it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Eager anticipation. We both got to talk to Gerard Johnstone for this film. Those
Yeah.
interviews are currently up on NovaStream and AU Review, respectively. We also got to talk to Ivana Sacno, who plays Amelia, who is the villain? Question mark of the film.
Villain question mark. Absolutely. Yeah.
But they were both really great chats.
Yeah.
But I guess to frame up the film,
Hmm.
the best and probably most talked about comparison is Terminator and Terminator 2. Whereas
Hmm.
Terminator was this sci-fi sort of thriller with like these mild horror elements, the same as Megan, which was this sort of sci-fi horror film about a potential killer robot.
Hmm.
Both sequels, T2 Judgment Day and Megan 2.0, are action thrillers.
Hmm.
Heavy on the action, somewhat not so much on the thriller, but this is like a very satirical, leaning hard into the comedy, leaning hard into the action T2 sort of sequel. M3GAN 2.0, Pete, what were the thoughts? What do you think about this film?
So yeah. So I was a fan of the original. I loved that it knew exactly what it was doing. It was very
Yes,
satirical.
very much so.
It leaned into the camp. It had a lot
Mhm.
of fun.
Yeah.
And the sequel was one of those things. It could have then doubled down on horror
Hmm.
and really gone with the killer doll side of things. Sort of like go like Child's Play 2 sort of
Yep.
route. Um,
Like how many technological devices can
yeah,
M3GAN infest sort of
and
shit. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, obviously something we'll probably talk about next episode regarding the way that people have responded to this film.
Hmm.
Um, I had a lot of fun with M3GAN 2.0.
Yep.
Um, I think kudos to Gerard Johnstone for really just like sticking to his guns, going balls to the wall on kind of crazy action and having that commentary on AI and technology and how like the human element is ultimately the most important thing.
Sure.
Um, it is quite funny that technology was what made the first film kind of as successful as it was. Like
Right. Right.
we saw the Megan the dance stuff
Yeah. The
go
viral dance
go
craze.
completely viral on TikTok and Instagram. And it's kind of like, all right, well, you like Megan being campy and funny,
Hmm.
so why can't I lean into this and turn it up to 11
Right.
and give you Megan super funny, super camp
Mm.
action? Like it's interesting that it hasn't gone the horror route, which I think will upset people
Hmm.
expecting that.
Sure.
But Megan's kind of always been it's always been like a commentary on AI, and it's always had its tongue very much in its cheek. And
Agreed. Yep.
this film doubles
This you
down
can
on
call this
that.
movie a satire. It's a satire
Yeah,
of that commentary. It's a satire of genre.
yeah,
It's sort of having a lot of fun in that playground for
yeah.
sure.
Like it's talking about very serious
Mm.
things, like like the protection of our children against technology,
Big
and then
time. Yeah, yeah.
you've got Ivana Sanko's character, Amelia, who's like she's another creation. She's dealing with the fact that like yes, she's a villain because she's been created
Programmed to be one. Yeah.
to like take down the government sort of
Hmm.
thing. But then she's like, well, I don't like that I'm being told what
What
to
to
do.
do. Yeah.
So then she kind of forms her own conscience, and it's like, is she a villain or is she just like
Yeah.
a
And there is this
and then there's
interesting like journey of identity and purpose
and
within.
like
Yeah, yeah.
women's bodies and autonomy, like it's all
Yeah,
of that sort
totally.
of stuff. So there's a lot going on here, but it's all packaged in this. If you just want to look at the surface level, it's
Mm.
packaged in a very campy, over the top action movie.
Yep.
And whether you want it to be that or not, you have to deal with it. That's what it is. This movie in no way is a horror, like it's not a horror
No,
movie
no, there's
at
no
all.
scary moments at all. Yeah. It's an
So
action thriller. It's a satirical action thriller.
that's either going to be a sell for you or it's not because
Yep.
the first film has horror elements, but it's
Hmm.
still like
Yeah, it's not
bordering.
scary though.
It's
Though
not
it's yeah.
scary. Um, and it's interesting because the home release of the first one obviously added in a bit more violence. And I remember talking to Gerard when the trailer came out, and he was
Mm.
like, "I'm kind of editing two movies at the moment, and I don't know what I'm going to do." So, and
Interesting.
this movie is not violent at all,
No, there's a lot of
really.
action, but it's not. Yeah,
Um,
there's not gore and shit.
so
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
obviously gone with like PG-13 is the
Hmm.
what we're going for. And I spoke to James Wan about it, and he was saying like, yeah, studios don't like they don't really look at ratings now. He's like, we don't try and force that.
Right.
It's
Okay.
like we just know what works and what doesn't. And he was also like, and we can't force a viral moment. So he's like,
Mm.
it's kind of why it's kind of why this film we haven't seen a lot of, I guess,
Marketing.
dance
Yeah.
moments from it because he's just like that worked for the first film, but he's like, but if we created a whole movie where we needed that to happen again,
Yeah.
we would have a shit movie.
It does try
Um,
that though.
it
That's the.
tries it
It's that
though.
karaoke scene. I was like, mm,
But yeah, it's just it's a
It's a very different movie.
different
I
movie,
put
and I
forward the
think
question though, did audiences want a M3GAN 2?
well that's it
That's the
because
other thing, right?
yeah,
Like
like
it
yes,
made a shitload of money the first one,
that's
don't get
it.
me
The first
wrong, but
one,
like
yeah. It ended on a kind of like, okay, I can see where
totally
it's like it ends. It's funny, like the story strand that has been continued on here is something that
is
I don't think people were expecting because
expecting.
the first film talks about someone in the company like selling the blueprints,
Yeah,
and that's where the story kind of followed.
goes. Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
totally.
the
Yeah.
end of the first film, when we see the Alexa Google thing of the house kind
Yeah.
of turn on by itself, when you're like, oh my God, she's still in there.
Yeah.
That is kind of
You
glossed over
yes.
in this one. So it's like they've gone for and like it makes sense to go, hey, someone's trying to sell Megan plans, like let's
Totally. Yeah,
make
yeah.
it make sense. But I
And it
think
works
most
for the
people
genre they're trying to play in.
yeah,
Totally.
but I
Yeah.
think most people would see the ending of Megan and just go, "Oh my God, she's still in the house." That's
Yeah.
a cool horror movie idea right there. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those
I
things. It's going against what people expect, and I have to give it absolute like hats off to that for going with
mm,
kind of
I
an
think
original idea.
I think credit for the idea in on paper, I think the execution is very poor because
Right.
it is trying to be 100 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
So while I think it is I think there's a lot of fun to be had. I think the action is really great and really stylized and it's really captured in a really funny way.
Mm.
Megan is hilarious. Everything she
Oh,
says
yeah.
is fucking hilarious. She also doesn't, slight spoiler, she also doesn't pop up in her actual form until over halfway through the film. And I
Yeah.
think that'll
Yeah.
piss people off too, because it's very much a Gemma and Katie story for the
Mm.
first half, which isn't a bad thing. They're definitely like the emotional, well, they were the emotional core of the first film, but then you've got them again in this film, then you've got Amelia, then you've got Megan sort of battling with her purpose and identity.
Mm.
So there's a lot of clashing storylines and elements, and it's a movie for me that just felt too overstuffed.
Right.
Weirdly enough, at the same time, feeling too long. I was kind of
Mm.
like, pick a story and stick with it kind of thing. So while I did have fun, and admittedly not a huge fan of the first one, but liked it enough, I
Mm.
was kind of like, oh, this is again, like you were saying, maybe expectations, but like not the movie I feel like should have been made if
Yes.
they were
Yeah.
continuing on the franchise. And I think that's where we'll talk about it in the next episode, but that's where it'll be reflective in the reaction to it.
Yeah. And then it's like, obviously Gerard Johnstone's spoken about the fact that he's like, there's so many more story possibilities with this, and
Yeah, totally.
they have Soulmate
On the
locked and
way.
ready to
Yeah, yeah,
go,
yeah.
which is a spin-off. I'm not sure where,
Mm,
like it's a spin-off. I'm not sure what's going to be the connecting thread. But the way they've described Soulmate sounds cool. It's like Fatal Attraction, but
an AI.
with an AI sex bot sort of thing, and I'm like, I'm all for it. Lily Sullivan's in it, and we love Lily Sullivan.
We love Lily Sullivan,
So,
Claudia Demit as well.
oh, she's incredible.
Scheduled for
Aussie,
January next year.
Aussie girls,
Aussie
awesome.
girls on the way through. Well, they
And
filmed
you know what?
Negan 2 in
January
New Zealand. So
January is kind of probably a safer ground for a movie like this.
agreed. Well, that's where the
But
first Megan came out too, right?
but
But they were obviously going for the summer
yeah,
movie
but you know what?
blockbuster.
But we have to remember Blumhouse thrive on small budgets.
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie where I think I'm just gonna have a quick look at it. It should be fine. Budget is rumored to be about 25 million.
25? Yeah. Yeah.
I think it'll be okay, but
I just think for this one, like if you're a fan of the first one, yeah, this is what purely have your like just have your expectations in check.
sure. Totally,
But at the
yeah.
same time, the trailer very much demonstrates that
Oh,
this is an
this
action movie.
is not a materialist situation.
No,
Like the
this
trailer is very
trailer
much like, yeah,
yeah, this trailer shows you exactly what kind of movie this is. So there's
totally.
no way people can go into it and be like, "Oh, it wasn't a horror movie." I'm like, it was never advertised as a horror movie. The
Absolutely.
trailer has Britney Spears' "Oops, I Did It Again" playing as Megan and Amelia kick the shit out of each other.
Which
What
again,
else do you
it's
expect?
shot really, really, really
So
well. It's very
yeah,
dynamic. It's very fun.
yeah.
Jermaine Clement is hilarious in
Oh,
this film.
is gross but hilarious. It's
So there's
so
still so many, there are a lot of elements that I enjoyed. I just think it's a mess. Like it's a messy film that is trying to be too many things. Then it's obvious that Gerard Johnson has such a reverence for genre films of like the 80s and 90s. So
yes.
many references,
Yeah.
so many homages, and a lot of like stylistic elements like that worked for me.
Mm.
Just story wise, I was like, oh, this is tougher to sit through
Mhm.
than other ones. But it's a recommend for both of us, but like I'm a little bit more like you said, check your expectations a
I think
little
that's it. It's a recommend if you are aware of what you're
what
seeing.
you're getting into.
Um, so you watch the trailer, and if
Yeah,
you vibe with the trailer, you'll vibe with the movie because the trailer,
totally.
like, there's nothing, there's
It's
no
not
mystery.
hiding anything from you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want to hear more thoughts, whaterscreens.com and the aureview.com for our full reviews. But that brings us to a the end of another episode of the World of Screens podcast. Next week on the show, we'll be talking all things Jurassic World Rebirth, the seventh film in the iconic Jurassic franchise, and we're going to react to some of the latest movie headlines. There's some big news that's been coming out lately, and we're going to get our fresh thoughts on that. In the meantime, head to waterscreens.com for the latest film, TV reviews, news, and awards expert articles, and much more. You can find me at Nick's Fix or at World of Screens. Pete, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Find me at the aureview.com and at rated PDG, Instagram, X, and Peter Gray,
Letterboxed.
Gray, Rotten Tomatoes.
Perfect. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of the World of Screens podcast.